And I see colleagues I did the advertising with yesterday afternoon from the Calypso event. So it seems they're coming on. And we have like members from last week and new coming. So that's really nice too.
We have Jorge coming in.
Okay, I will, maybe we wait another 1 minute and then I can open so then we don't waste too much time on that.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure new people will come in, but let's get it started. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the newcomers, and welcome back to those who followed us last time already. Thank you for joining us for this second episode of Enrich Your Coffee. In the previous episode, Gerard from the Dutch ILO Net opened the debate on possible collaboration between ICOs and ILOs from the ILO perspective. Today, Chris Jecken, business developer at Eatrice, will take on the ICO perspective. I think that having a clear picture about what an ILO and an ICO are and what they do will hopefully help us better understand how they can collaborate together and how, as Enrich, we can support that. I hope today's debate will be as enriching as last week. And as you know, we have created also this LinkedIn group. So please don't hesitate to continue the debate there. And you are also very much welcome to bring in new discussions. So I hope you all have your coffee ready. And now I would like to give the floor to Chris. Thanks a lot. And I hope we will have a very fruitful discussion.
Yeah, thanks all for letting me host. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see, where is it? And I hope you can all see this.
Yes.
And then I would like to ask you all to go to menti.com, either on your phone or another browser. Well, I'm sure we've all done this before, right? Yes. And there's a code. And so I'll give you all a few seconds to get set up.
The code will remain on the bar, on the top of the bar during your presentation.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. While you set it up, perhaps I can introduce myself a bit. So Chris Jecken, I have a PhD from Leiden University in the Netherlands. Basically, I did cancer research. So that's like growing cells in a flask for 4 years of my life. I work in the life science industry, that may be clear now. After that, I moved into industry, the pharmaceutical industry, that is. I had a few jobs there, mostly in clinical research, which, to be honest, I found a bit boring. And about 2 years ago, a bit more, I joined Eatrice as a business developer. And we actually focus more on preclinical research. So the difference is preclinical is before you inject something into a human, which is scientifically more interesting, I'd say. But anyway, both are necessary. All right, let's go to the first slide. So I wanted to ask you if you could all put in your name and organization, if you like. So we have a bit of an idea who's here and who we're speaking to. And I believe, should this go automatically? But if you put in a, yes, perfect. Good. So this is my first time hosting a Menti session, so it's all very exciting. I'm expecting a tiny bit more. Since there's more faces. Yes, we're getting there. Yeah, good. How many people do we have?
We have 17.
17. So we should wait for 16 answers, because I don't think you'll put
Yeah, I think yes, other things are still happening. I'm too lazy to count, but I think we're approaching 17.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. First, I want to very briefly want to explain a bit what we do and what I do, and then we get to some questions and interaction. Let's see. So IATRIS is a research infrastructure for translational medicine. This has nothing to do with language. Basically, the idea of the concept of translational medicine is getting a treatment from the lab to a patient. So it's not just fundamental research. The pointer is that you do research that will eventually make its way to a patient. And it involves a lot of different parties and a lot of different techniques, and basically also a lot of money in the end. And it involves academia at the start, usually, and it usually ends with industry, large pharma, but there's exceptions, obviously. So IATRIS is a decentralized research infrastructure. There's now 110 research institutes in our network in about 13 countries. We're still expanding, but we're doing good. My role specifically, I'm a business developer, as it's called, at least in the industry. So I create collaborations between industry and academia with the goal to develop new treatments for patients. So how do I do this? I basically interact with mostly small companies to find out what their needs are exactly, and I help them find it within our network of academic institutes. And these can be things that are not really focused on a disease. So we're disease agnostic, if you will, but the things that we look for are very specific models or assays or samples. So these are biological samples like blood samples or tissue samples that are in freezers hidden away in hospitals, but also very specific expertise on certain molecular pathways or diseases, or certain facilities for PET or MRI imaging or animal studies, etc. So drug development in industry, what does that look like? Basically, I want to throw out some terms here just so you get a bit familiar with it. So we have these things called biotech companies. And what that means that it's a small company. They're basically IP creation vehicles. So what they do is they start out with usually 2 people or so. They have a patent and they start to develop IP around a certain molecule or a new treatment. These companies, and this is where we come in, they outsource absolutely everything if they can, because usually they only need to do an experiment once. If it works out, they move into something else. So they can outsource it to service providers, but also to academia. Then there's pharma. There's the only distinction between a biotech company and a pharma company is biotech is small, pharma is big. This is, it's not 100% true, obviously, but basically what pharma does, they're a big company and they buy biotech companies if they create IP of value. So what kind of things are we looking for are being developed in our industry? For instance, you have small molecules. So these are basically synthesized chemically. That's easy, relatively. We also have things called biologics. Those are synthesized by living cells. They're way too complicated to synthesize chemically. So we have these living cells in bioreactors, and it becomes more complicated. Let's put it that way. We also have things called cell therapies, which are basically, the treatment is that you get an injection of your own cells, but they're modified. Like they're reprogrammed to attack a cancer of sorts. We also have gene therapies these days, which are usually, it's basically, you get an artificial virus that carries some DNA or RNA that can restore a certain gene defect. We also do vaccines, obviously, but also medical devices. And a medical device is basically, a device can be an implant or a machine or a whatever. But the rule is, if it touches a patient, it's a medical device. And then everything becomes expensive and complicated. But there's also diagnostic companies, obviously. So first mentee question. What I wanted to ask is, I've given you a tiny bit of a flavor of what our RI can offer to industry, but I'm interested to hear what can your RI offer to the industry that you work with? So please take some time to put in your answers, and I'm hoping to see some appear soon. And if you have a specific answer, it might make sense to also mention which industry you're in, because I can imagine that there may be some differences. For instance, I have no idea what beam time means, so I'm curious.
Maybe for the representative of ILOs, or the if you want to turn the question in the other way, like basically what as an ILO you tell industry, or how do you attract industry to use or to go to ARISE, maybe that can also help.
So can anybody tell me what beam time is?
Must be Ute, no?
No, I think that, I mean, one was me, for example, yes, and the other one must have been Mark. Mark, are you around?
Yes, I'm here.
Did you put in the beam time and data analysis?
No, because I was typing when he already said he doesn't know what beam time is. So
but maybe you explain it.
But I can explain. So this must be someone from a neutron or a synchrotron facility.
No, it's me, it's Werner.
But you are a synchrotron facility, Werner.
Yes, I am a synchrotron facility.
You are
in Hamburg, yes.
Yeah, usually the time people spend at the instruments, it's called beam time, because you are provided, at least as an academic user, they just come with their samples and maybe sample environments, and mainly all they get is a beam with an X-ray beam with certain characteristics, and the rest they usually do themselves, the measurements and the data acquisition and data analysis. For industry, there's more service because usually they're not capable of doing this, and so they get the time at the instruments, because it's just sold in time units, in shifts or hours, it's an internal slang for these communities, I guess. Mm-hmm. And usually the synchrotrons and neutron sources also provide the data analysis for the industrial customers, because they cannot do it themselves.
So these type of facilities, do they typically only exist in academia?
Well, that's 95% or more of the external users are academic users from universities, research centers, and so on, using these facilities for their research, and a small percentage is sold of the beam time is sold to industry. It could be more. We could offer more. It's just the demand is not as we would like it to be. So because there's still not much awareness in industry. There are some companies who know it quite well and use it quite frequently, but there's, I think, more than 90% of industry doesn't even know that this is an opportunity.
That will relate to the next question, by the way. So it's good that you mentioned that.
While we go to the next question, or I don't know if you want maybe continue on this one, but can I invite everyone to put up their camera, because then it's nicer to see people's face. Thanks.
So I suppose just one quick thing I want to share is what I noticed is that, so I talk a lot with industry, right? So what the challenge is to explain what academia offers that they cannot find with commercial service providers. Because that's, for us at IATRIS, that's basically the gap that we can fill for industry. Because but then you need to, but the problem is that's not just one thing or a set of things. That's basically everything that's left over that's not offered by service providers. Anyway, okay. Thanks so much for your answers. So the next question: this is. So I joined the IATRES 2 years ago. I have never heard of research infrastructures before. Now I have, obviously. So we all fill a certain niche, and I believe that's very important. But the question is, how do you promote this? How do you to industry? How do you reach out? What are your best practices? What works, or perhaps what doesn't, if you'd like to share? So I'm happy to hear what you think and what works best for you.
Lots of events, but how do you do events? I mean, now that we can't meet people.
Actually, for my field, they're all digital now. And I'd say they work pretty well. It's not as fun as flying to, Barcelona and be there for 3 days. But
you can bring Barcelona to the virtual, like we tried with Granada.
I did get the tapas at home, so that was good.
And how do you get the industry coming to these events? I mean, people talk about contacting directly the people, or.
Yeah, so I can answer that perhaps. I go to industry events. That's the easiest one.
Does anyone want to talk about?
That would be good, to make it a bit more interactive.
Yes, please. Yeah. This is your floor as well. Please take on. Don't be shy.
Okay, I will take the floor. This is Jorge. I think, in my previous life, I was a business development manager for space. Okay, so, and when I went to an event, or when I went to a brokerage event, an important point was to prepare myself to that event. So do the homework, see which people are going to be there, checking the potential participants, then marking them, then send them an email, arranging a short meeting. So to really prepare my agenda full of B2Bs with the key person to meet. This was the success to have a busy event and day. Was.
But then at that time you were acting as an industry, right?
Right.
And how, when you created this list, did you put like a RISE on your list, or were you only interested or only targeting like other industries?
I mean, both. I mean, when I was registered to an event, it was important to have in advance the people registered, and then I look at the list and say, okay, I want to meet this one, and then I prepare the day. So, the key factor is to be active in these events, to be prepared, to not assist them just for the coffees.
Anyone else has some experience that we would like to share? Wahid, do you want to say something?
I put in the brokerage events, and really the face-to-face nature of my interaction is really the best. It works perfectly for me. And now with the pandemic, it's the video basis still works fine with me, really. It's what I would like to share in this kind of environment is that the follow-up is a bit of a balance between, how can I say, it's a balance between perseverance, really. You need to stay in communication and be in the conversation with them, and don't forget them. And it happens often that they're pretty thankful that you're because I don't stay on their radar for a long time, and to remind them. But then again, you don't want to get pestered people, really. So that's a bit of a balance thing. Other than that, I think that the face-to-face and stay in contact are, for me, the way it works best.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd like to make a comment touching on what Chris said about small biotech companies and big pharma. There's a huge difference in the way you reach out to small and medium enterprises and big companies. The SMEs have very specific needs. And frankly, if you confront them with everything that a single RI, or worse still, a collection of RIs could offer, they just glaze over. I've seen it so many times. So you have to be very specific and find out what it is they need for their development pipeline. Big companies have a different sort of agenda. They're looking at different timescales and different amounts of investment. And they can take the long-term view and maybe establish a master research agreement or something like that. But there's a huge difference, and it's very important to be sensitive to that, particularly for small companies.
Yeah, absolutely, Nigel. And so I actually mostly focus on small companies because they don't have all the partnerships yet that they need. And the good thing is, since there are few people, it's very easy to speak to the CEO or the CSO, that's scientific in our world, and they can make decisions fairly quickly. Whereas if you talk to a big pharma company, it might take forever to get the right person. And that's one of, I've seen that here a few times, to find the key person. If there's only 3 people in the company, you always have the right person. Yeah.
Does anyone have experience from another field? Because it's, I don't know if it's specific to the life science and more specifically to the pharma and biotech, because it seems like you, as an RI, you offer really concrete things. So somehow it's understandable that industry comes to you, but if you consider like other scientific domains, like how is this approach? Is it like the same issue or non-issue or challenge, or do you have different challenges, and how do you tackle them? If someone from another field sector wants to take over and try to answer.
Well, I can add something to that. The services we offer is completely cross-sectoral. It starts on the left and goes to the right, and everything in between is our audience. We are attracting SMEs to our HPC resources, HPC standing for high performance computing. And it's a tool for R&D. And really, the industry sector doesn't really play a role, and it's very horizontal in our work. Everyone is coming to us, which needs resources for R&D. And at the end of the day, I guess the needs are really pretty, how can I say, it's at the end of the day, industry as opposed to research and scientific entities, they want to have very concrete results they want to achieve, and to give them an opportunity or an opening to help them in their problems, that's the way to do it, in my view, anyway. It's that's what they're interested in. They're business driven. SMEs, I'm only talking to SMEs. They don't have the resources usually to go to the corporate cloud services. So we're coming in and say, we can help you with your very concrete R&D problems.
So in that sense, you act as a facilitator for SMEs.
Very much so. Yeah, it's very much so. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I joined you guys, is that on my business card it says ILO, whereas so I'm talking to SMEs, but I am an ICO in in the definition of your organization. So
because you're representing research.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm attracting, you know, I don't do any, you know, I don't do any service purchasing or whatever, you know. I'm proposing services to SMEs.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else wants to say something?
Can I add something?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I'm an ILO, so small companies are interested in the business that RIs can offer, whereas large companies want large contracts, which RIs probably don't often offer. And I guess it's the same for ICOs for development. Large companies will want large developments, and the RI may only have a small development. So there's only a small company will be attracted to that.
Actually, from our perspective, most of the collaborations we do are with smaller companies, but we have a few with large pharma as well.
It's not exclusive, of course. It's never exclusive, but in general, I would guess.
Yeah.
Most of the contracts that we have to offer from the CERN, 75% to our companies. Most of the contracts are small, less than $1 million, 2 million. So large companies aren't interested in these. They want bigger contracts. They also want less constraints than RIs usually propose.
I think that's a fair point. Yeah. I actually would like to, for the sake of time, like to go to my last slide, which is an open question that you don't have to answer via Menti. Because what I noticed here is that these are not 17 answers. So I'm guessing that not all RIs work as much with industry as others. So I wanted to start a bit with, perhaps think a bit how to get started with this, or how does this work if you're less experienced with this as an RI. So how to get started? It starts with, in my opinion, understanding what the incentives are for your industry. Because for academia to work together with industry, you really need to understand each other's incentives. And so the classic, and this answer is a bit, you know, it's a bit of a, don't take it too seriously, but for academia, usually the incentive to do what they do is publications. Whereas for industry, it's money. And those are different. But both are good and bad, in my experience. Because if a biotech company, so a small company or industry, if they want more money, they need to have the right models to test their molecule, to get the evidence, to get the investors there. That can be excellent science they can do together with academic groups. Whereas academics sometimes just choose a model that's the cheapest so they can get the publication in Nature. And that doesn't mean that those results will be relevant when translated towards patients later on. So
we have 1 minute.
Good.
I'm sorry to cut you, but I would like to invite somebody who hasn't talked yet. I don't know. I see here somebody like really hiding far down. I have no idea who that is. So it's Callum Talbot Cooper. Can you please talk? I mean, present yourself, and if you have any.
Yeah,
Hi.
of course.
Nice to see you.
Hi, I'm a bit of a weird one here. So I'm actually an intern at Elixir. And Kathy, I don't know if you've met her before. She might have come to your last session.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she just wanted me to listen in case there was anything important that might be relevant for her. So I've only been working at Elixir for a couple of weeks. So my insight into this is very limited, but I'm listening keenly.
Okay, thanks. So maybe someone else wants to take the floor. Pedro, we haven't heard you. We have like few seconds, or we can take 1 or 2 more minutes. I mean, of course, we want to keep this conversation open for an extra 30 minutes. So for those who have the time, please, you're welcome to stay and we can keep talking. So Pedro.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Just comment. I very agree with the point that Chris explained. It's very different in academia from industry. One who is following just publication, the other is more focused to make money. And I'm very agree also with what he said. It's more important to get contacts with small companies. It's more easy, and it's very easy to get your goal with a small company where you can find the person And when you enter in pharma, it's very big. We have also collaborations with several small companies and also with pharmas. And with pharmas, it's always very difficult to reach the person, the exact person that wants the project that you are trying to send up. This is just my opinion.
I also have some points to complement Chris' last chapter. I think Chris is excellent, is very well. But nowadays, also from academia or from researching infrastructures, they are looking for sustainability in the long terms. And sometimes they are not only focused on publications, also on patents, and also on providing the services of the research facilities in the spare time. Sometimes research infrastructures or academia has excellent research facilities with excellent conditions, and sometimes could be also used by industry. So sometimes there is a collaboration between these two worlds also on that.
I absolutely agree. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyone else? Any comments? Rosa Maria, we haven't heard you today.
The last one, and Charlotte, is that yes. Also, in addition to publications, academia is very well interested in patents. Okay, but up to fulfill the patent. That's all, but not going to a product later on. And I think there is a link there between industry and academia that could be the beginning of a long love story. And this is also important to point it out.
Maybe that can be an episode, the love story between academia and industry. Jorge, if you're inspired, like how to use patent as a...
That last point is exactly what we try to accomplish. Because you're right, that it should be such a love story, but it's not always easy.
Okay, so Rosa, do you want to say a few words?
Hi, do you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm Rosa. I work in an Institute of Corpuscular Physics in Spain. And I started to work 2 years ago in a unit for the knowledge transfer. And I'm in accordance with all that you say. It's more easy to start to talk with the small companies. And I also in accordance with the things that Jorge remarks, that is that now in academy there are incentives for patents, and from my experience I note that this is very important for the researchers, and that's all. It's very interesting, this coffee.
Okay, so what I would suggest, Chris, if it's okay, we keep this conversation open for another half an hour. And those who want to leave, you're welcome to do so, but we are very happy if you stay. And if someone else wants to say something or build on something that has been said, please, you're welcome. I mean, this is now your event or your coffee time. So please, if there's anything that we discussed or anything else that you would like to tackle or challenge, or please come up.
I would just want to say that thank you very much for all the interesting information. It's great to know that we are all on the same point, although it's a bit sad that we have still problems, but they will be resolved. I hope. And I have to leave. I have a meeting 5 minutes ago. So thank you very much and see you next time.
Thanks very much.
Bye. I'm sorry, I don't know. I will be really rude. Your name on the screen is Mollers, and you presented yourself before, and I haven't got it. So I'm really sorry because I thought you wanted to say something previously, and I couldn't. You know. So
my My name is Sörne Möller, and I'm working for the Business Development Office of the Technology, Innovation and Technology Transfer Department at DESY in Hamburg. And I'm here for my colleague Oliver Wendt, who is in charge, or who is responsible for the mainly synchrotron beam time offers for industry. And the sector or the services I'm coordinating at DESY are quite different from those who are of interest for companies in the life science sector. I'm responsible for services in the frame of the superconducting technology, and since DESY has built the European XFEL linear collider, DESY has got a lot of, or gained a lot of experience in this sector. And as soon as linear colliders are built worldwide, DESY is partly involved in executing such services, because there are only a few companies involved worldwide who are able to build and develop cavities for linear colliders. And at DESY, we have the possibility to provide, for example, eddy current scanning for NEOP sheets who are needed for building of cavities. So there are several services in the frame of this technology, and the companies are already part of the worldwide community, and therefore it is from my point of work and view, I don't have to attract new companies because they are involved already in this in this technology, and they really work together with the scientists and engineers worldwide.
But this is more on the supplier aspect, right? Because they provide you technologies, and they don't.
Yes, for example, I mean, there are several possibilities to work together with other institutes building linear colliders, for example, in work packages or in offering services for other institutes, or we provide quotations to those companies. There is one in Germany and one in Italy, and they from their point, they send quotations to tenders which are done by institutes, for example, SLAC or FNAL or ESS or whatever worldwide. And so therefore DESY executes services for example, for those companies or for other institutes, because we have got the expertise for cavity tests and eddy current scanning and so on. And yeah.
This is interesting because I'm hearing not only industry as a supplier, but industry as a user of your technology. Would you subscribe to that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's interesting because you're big science, and we think of big science mainly in terms of supplier contracts to build these huge installations. But you have in fact some technology which industry is attracted to as a user.
Yes. Yes.
That's interesting.
I have a question to you, Mollers. Yes, I am in Spain a lot of, many times in contact with Alba synchrotron. So I know the people using this kind of synchrotron lights, okay? I have a question to you is, from the time you are using the synchrotron which percentage it is provided to pure researchers and which percentage it's provided to industry for their own applications, whatever they want. So which is open science and which part is industry-oriented research?
Well, as I mentioned, this is not the field I'm working for, and possibly, I don't know if Mark is still involved in this prolonged session. Maybe Mark is able to answer your question, because Mark works deeply together with my colleague Oliver, and Oliver is responsible for the synchrotron beam time, and he may answer your question. So I can't do that, really.
If I can give my point of view, we are also from Spain in a similar research facility like Synchrotron, which is an infraestructura científico-técnico singular. So in our case, there is, I would say it's almost 50-50%, the percentage of companies that use our services also for research in the academics. Probably it's almost, could be a little bit higher in industry than academics. In fact, they have more money.
Thank you very much. I fully assume that this is highly dependent on the field, because in your field it's like that. In synchrotron it could be more or less the same, but for instance in astronomy it's 100% and 0%, at least from the time being. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So I can assure that it's much less at DESY, both at the DESY beamlines, but also at the instruments we are operating there. It's below 5% over the whole Petra 3 synchrotron facility. There's another number we often use, which is, we call it the gray zone, although it's nothing illegal. It's just that most of the applications are so at so low technology readiness levels that it's all kind of fundamental research, so but still relevant for industry. So there's a lot of the academic users which use academic beam time. They get it for free because they publish everything in scientific journals. And they're in these projects where the academic researchers are working with, there may be industry involved. This is larger. This is about 20%. We don't exactly know. It's hard to track. But proprietary research, so that the company directly buys our services, is less than 5%. And it's not easy to increase because there are several. You have to imagine at a synchrotron, there's 20 beamlines, or at other synchrotrons even more. And lots of the instruments are not relevant for industry at all. They are doing purely fundamental research on basic physical questions about how the atoms are behaving under certain conditions and so on. And so there's only a small part, which is, some are interesting for life science, some for the chemical industry, some for engineering. And I think with really hard work and support by politics and so on, and EU projects, it could be maybe over the whole synchrotron at DESY, it could be raised to 10%, but not much more, because this would mean that some instruments would have 20% of industry, since others will always be 0. I can't imagine it being much more, because then it would also mean that we have to reduce the time academic researchers can use our facilities, and it's already overbooked by the factor 2 or even 4. So if you take away too much time from the academic users, they will start complaining. So I think a healthy balance would be around 10%, but we are still working to get there.
That's interesting, because we were actually the other day talking about wondering if industry would even be interested in fundamental research, and like would they even do fundamental research, because usually they are so close to the market. So we had like this interesting discussion, and so that kind of gives some elements to answer this, and but maybe there's something that we can deeper here and try to see how more frequent. I understand then that this access limit as well, like if we can't offer more than what we have, I mean obviously that's an issue, but also like I think it's important to understand the interest also around that, like why would they even come there, and so that's, yeah. Thank you. Anything else you would like to discuss? Or maybe Chris, do you want to say a few words about your episode? What did you take away?
Well, I think, yeah, let's just say this was good fun. I think it's good to because I think there's still a big need that academia and industry, they need to work together more. I think that should become more natural in the future. And it has not been very much in the past. So I'm hoping this helps.
Great.
So unless someone wants to say something, I mean, Elisa, we haven't heard from you today. So just maybe if you want to say the last words before we close.
Nice, this is important task. Well, yes, I've been pretty quiet because at Clarin I think we're still a bit in the initial stage on how to get started. Being in the social science and humanities is it's not so intuitive to be in touch with industry, but I think I had good ideas from this. For sure, the sustainability that was mentioned is a topic that is very close to us, and we are very specialized in that regard into what we do. So that was a very good input I got. And in general, it was a great moment to meet you in a more informal way and get a lot of ideas from different fields which are not so close to us. Anyway.
But one question about Clarin, like, do you have any interaction with industry, or how do you relate with them?
So I'm not the most informed person, but I think we did, and it went more on a personal level. So the industry was interested in the specific research of a person in the Clarin environment, and then they developed an interaction on that, and they discussed that. But I think it started from a paper. I'm not 100% sure.
Maybe it would be interesting to have more information about how social science relate to industry and what you can even offer to industry. And maybe that there can be very interesting practices there for the others.
Exactly. That's what we are trying to do.
I mean, check with Franziska if she wants to hold an episode. Maybe there's something for season 2.
Yes, I will.
Okay, so thank you everyone. I hope you really enjoyed this format, and I'm really happy to see that we are still like 13 people, I mean 12 because Alan is present twice. But yeah, thank you very much for taking part of it, and for giving us like this opportunity also to test a bit how the format and how it works. And I mean, all feedbacks are welcome. And again, I mean, if you want to hold an episode because you have an idea of for interactions and so on, please get back to us. This is also for you, so don't hesitate. We are very happy to. So thanks.
And don't forget our LinkedIn group. It's a closed group for the enriched community, so it's growing. All information that you put there will just be shared with our network. You can give feedback to us on the episodes. You can give ideas for episodes. Everything on there. So make sure to click on the link that I put in the chat and join, and you'll see your fellow network members there.
Yeah, so we will host the next episode next week, same time, with Nikolai from DTI. We are still waiting for his topic, so he's working on it. But I'm sure we're gonna, now I think it's, now that we got this picture about what an ILO and what an ICO is, I think it's time to go into the deeper in the subject.
Yeah.
And try to challenge the debate and be a bit more like pushy. So I'm looking forward to for Nikolai next week, and I wish you all a very good day. And thanks again very much, Chris, for taking this opportunity. That I think that was very good. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.